Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today let's talk about a shoujo manga, Hachimitsu to Clover, or Honey and Clover. Honey and Clover is a Japanese manga series written by Umino Chika. I'm not sure if you have heard about Honey and Clover or not. However, Umino Chika is famous for another work, March Comes in Like a Lion, which is currently under hiatus. The story is about an introvert professional shoki player gradually develop his skills and his relationship with others. If you are interested, you may wish to go and take a look at it. Umino Chika debuted as a manga artist since her high school. Her early works are mostly doujinshi derived from slamdunk and novels written by Takamura Toru. She started her serialization of Honey and Clover in year 2000. One special thing about serialization of Honey and Clover was that it had changed free magazine throughout its serialization, from Cutie Comic to Young You, and finally to Chorus, which was a bit unusual for a manga serialization. In total, Honey and Clover consists of 64 chapters, with a total of 10 volumes. In year 2003, Umino Chika received the 27th Kodansha Manga Award for Honey and Clover, and in year 2005 and 2006, Honey and Clover got animated with a total of 2 seasons, with a total of 36 episodes. The story of Honey and Clover is about the stories which happen within a group of art college students. It covers the theme of youthfulness, love triangles, unrequited love, pursuing dreams, and voyage of self-discovery. The vibe of the entire story is rather soothing, healing, peaceful, and maybe having a sense of humor. Before I start, there is a TMI over here about 4-leaf clovers. 4-leaf clovers contain the symbols of faith, love, hope, and good fortune. Let's have a recap on the main characters. Takemoto Yuta, a year 2 art student. He lived in the same apartment building with Mayama Takumi and Morita Shinobu. He was the protagonist of the story and served as the narrator of the manga. His father passed away when he was young. After that, he decided to take up the responsibility in taking care of his mother. However, after his mother remarried, he had a complicated feeling that he became an outsider in the family. He had an awkward relationship with his stepfather. However, this was from his personal perspective only, since he did not know how to get along with his stepfather due to the contrasted fatherly image portrayed by his father and stepfather. Their relationship improved after Takemoto was diagnosed with stomach ulcer and postponed his graduation for 1 year. Takemoto fell in love with Hanamoto Hagumi at first sight. However, due to various reasons, he decided to keep his feeling to himself only. On the other hand, when the story continued, Takemoto started to question himself about his future and profession. Finally, he went to the voyage of self-discovery, and he went to Kageyamatobio, the most northern part in Japan. Throughout the journey, Takemoto understood more about himself. He gained confidence and discovered what he would like to work as his profession. And finally, he decided to confess to Hanamoto Hagumi about his feeling. Morita Shinobu, a year 6 art student. He was 24 at the beginning of the story. He lived in the same apartment building with Takemoto and Mayama. Due to his persistent absenteeism, he almost cannot graduate from the art college. He was a talented artist but extremely in love of money. However, this is because of his family background. He has an elder brother and both of them share the same goal. He had once left to the States in the middle part of the story and returned to Japan as an award-winning CG artist. Same as Takemoto, he fell in love with Hanamoto Hagumi at first sight. However, he expressed his love towards Hagu in a quirky manner, and this made Hagu scared of him and hiding herself away from him. Though Morita and Hagu were in a complicated relationship, Morita was also the only one who was able to understand the ideology of Hagu's artistic work, while others were more in an appreciation perspective. Throughout the story, I would consider Morita and Hagu were soulmates to each other. Hanamoto Hagumi, Hagu. Please do not fake by her outlook. She was an 18-year-old freshman in the art college. She was also the cousin of Hanamoto Shuji. Since Shuji discovered her talents in art, he invited Hagu to study in his art college. When Hagu first arrived to the college, Shuji introduced her to his students. Takemoto, Molita, and Mayama. Haku has a shy personality, and she was sometimes tense and nervous in dealing with interpersonal relationships. However, she was still able to make friends with Takemoto, Molita, Mayama, and Yamada. She depends highly on Suji since he gives her a sense of security. However, she had learned to grow up when Shuji went on a field trip to Mongolia. I would say that the ending of the love triangle between Hagu, Takemoto, and Molita is quite surprising. However, after giving a second thought, it seems that it is not surprising at all. Perhaps I can take sweets and chips as an example. Most people like me like sweets, ice creams, and chips. We feel satisfied when we have a taste of it. However, we can't treat sweets and chips as our regular meals. I think this applies to this love relationship. I'm not sure whether this is a good example. However, from Hagu's perspective, it seems that she had chosen the right one for herself. Hanamoto Shuji. He was an art professor at the college. He was also Hagu's relative. He discovered Hagu's art talent and invited her to study in his college. He valued Hagu's art talent, and he would like to see more works produced by Hagu, so that he could see how Hagus visualized the world. Though he was currently an art professor and a former art student, he was not good, but just an ordinary person. He was an expert of voyage of self-discovery. He was also a good friend of a couple, Harada and Lika. When Harada died from a car accident, he had taken care of Lika for a short period of time. However, at last, Shuji decided to introduce Mayama to Lika to take up the jobs left by Harada. Since the existence of both Lika and Shuji kept reminding themselves the death of Harada, and this was tormenting to both of them. With the story goes on, Shuji and Lika's wound have been healed by Hagu and Mayama. Mayama Takumi, a Year 4 architecture student. He lived in the same apartment building with Takemoto and Molita. Unlike Molita, Mayama is a reliable senpai to Takemoto. He was a smart person. It seems that he was the only one in their group who had successfully graduated from the art college and received a job offer from a good design firm. Even he had graduated, he still lived in the same apartment building with Takemoto and Molita. According to him, this is because he would like to save up his money and help his loved one when she was in need. Mayama was first introduced to Lika by Hanamoto Shuji. While Mayama was studying in the college, he had worked as an intern in Harada Design, a design firm which was started by Lika's husband, Harada. While working with Lika, Mayama developed his feeling towards Lika. However, as urged by Lika, Mayama had once left Harada Design, but finally he returned back in helping out Lika. Yamada Ayumi, a Year 3 art student. She is pretty and popular among the young men in her neighborhood and college. She became a good friend with Hagu. While Shuji was away for the field trip in Mongolia, Yamada initiated to stay with Hagu during that period, so that Hagu would not feel lonely when Shuji was away. Yamada was deeply in one-sided love with Mayama. However, due to Mayama's feeling towards Ika, he was unable to develop a relationship with Yamada. As I mentioned earlier, the vibe of Honey and Clover is rather soothing, healing, and peaceful. It is also a story which reminds us about the youthfulness and bitterness which happen in our youth, the confusion and carefree which we had experienced in our school life. However, no matter these are sweet, sour, or bitter, these are still part of us and make up our valuable memories. That's all for my sharing today, and I hope you all would like this story. If you like my sharing, please kindly leave a comment and let me know. And if you don't mind, please also like my video and subscribe my channel. I'll be seeing you next time. Bye.